Hey number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. So today we had a chance to compare these two sets of armor produced by Iron Mountain Armory, and I'd like to first off start by saying that I'd like to thank the guys at Iron Mountain Armory. They're really cool, awesome customer service, customer care. They're really good guys. So if you ever want to buy a set of samurai armor, I strongly advise you to do that through Iron Mountain Armory. They really are the very best. Okay, so today we compared two different sets of armor. They're actually quite different, I've got to say, and in fact they function differently. The first one that we saw was it's an armor belonging to the daimyo category on the site. It's DA401, and it's an odoshi scaled armor. The second one instead, the black one, was a classic armor belonging to the classic section. It's a C006 Takeda clan samurai armor. Now, first off, of course, the century is different. With the first one, the scaled armor, the odoshi scaled armor, the daimyo set, we are talking about 1300, 1400s, okay? Whereas with the second one, we're already in the 16th century, 17th century. In fact, the second one, the black one, is a tosei gusoku, so basically plate armor. So that was a sort of armor which became very popular because of the fact that the Portuguese have brought gunpowder and what will become, we're talking about the matchlock type arquebuses, of course, but of course in Japan they will be called Tanegashima Teppo. They will be mass produced, used particularly by Oda Nobunaga, as we know, and his forces, and both samurai and ashigaru. And so that sort of armor, the plate armor, more compact, lighter, also because you have to imagine that at this time a lot of soldiers are actually on foot, others are on horseback, as you've got both, and it's a different kind of warfare. The odoshi scaled armor, since we are in the 1300s, 1400s, so we are basically in the 14th century and 15th century, of course we are not talking about oyoroi, okay, so let's just clear that up. That's not a oyoroi. Oyoroi, first off, it will be a much more older type, and it will be a lot heavier, more like square boxed, okay, and most of its weight will be borne on the shoulders. In fact, this kind of armor, if you look at it, if you look at the way it's constructed, the odoshi scaled armor, yes, it is scaled armor, but it has crimpled iron plates which simulate scale. Now, why was this done by Iron Mountain Armory? And secondly, was it done historically by samurai and samurai armor producers? Yes, it was done historically, and it's a sort of, look at it this way. The reason why you have simulated scales is because of the looks. It makes your armor, it functions like a newer type of armor. It's a sort of an intermediate armor between the old versions and the new tosei gusoku. It's a sort of an intermediate one. So it sort of functions like more similar to a newer armor, at least as far as the door is concerned. But you still have the looks of the old-fashioned way, okay? And that is something that they did. And the reason, there are quite a few reasons why you're not actually using scale anymore, but one of the reasons, of course, it's economical, okay? It also has to do with the sort of weapons that the armor is supposed to protect you from, but mostly it's the fact, like, for example, in the future with Tanegashima Teppo, because these two sets of armor, if you have two samurai wearing these two sets of armor that I own together, it wouldn't be too anachronistic, because if you've got someone at the end of the 15th century and someone at the beginning of the 16th century, it's not like sets of armor from the 16th century suddenly disappeared, you know, poof, and then everyone has got only tosei gusoku. So you can have both. And the problem with scale armor, the old version, is that it cannot stop gunpowder, okay? Whereas plate, particularly when it's steel, it could. And then if you go further on in the late 17th century and 18th century, then you start having actual full plate, which is more resemblant of European style. But you also have to consider that making a sort of armor with actual scales, very small ones particularly, it's more expensive and time consuming in the making. So one of the most evident differences between these two different kinds of armor are the sode and osode. So with the daimyo style, you still have the old-fashioned big pauldrons, whereas with the new one you've got these more compact ones. And the reason, again, has to do with how these sets of armor were used. Again, some were used on foot, and also you are, with tosei gusoku, you're using Tanegashima Teppo, you're using other kinds of things, and you need more mobility. In fact, how much of a difference is it? Well, I imagine you could see this already with the footage that we have created, but out of the two sets of armor, there is a difference in weight. Not significant. We're not talking about like twice as much, but the daimyo style is heavier, and with the other one it was easier to move in it. Now that doesn't mean that the sword prevents you from moving your arms. You can still move your arms pretty well. In fact, keep in mind that you might still be using bows and arrows, so of course you have to be able to have that sort of range of motion, but you do have some extra weight and some extra space. So when you're indoor moving in the daimyo set, you might hit stuff with your sword, and that doesn't happen with the Tosei Gusoku. But again, you do have a little bit of extra weight. It's not like that a ginormous difference, but you do have a little bit of extra weight on your shoulders. Now moving on to the kabuto, the helmet of the daimyo style armor is heavier if compared to the more compact one of the classic style armor. Now, as far as the maedate, the decoration in the front, well, please take into consideration that sort of decoration would be something worn by generals, okay? It's not something that every samurai would have worn, because it will hinder your mobility. It's still not too much, because as you could see, I could still move around, but that is not, because you have to imagine that a general was not really supposed to fight, okay? If a general was fighting, it means they screwed up, okay? Something went wrong. Of course, generals could still fight, and their armor would be the best one as far as quality is concerned, but still, the idea is that the general is there to give orders, to bring morale, so this is why they would use that sort of decoration, which was more decorative. It wasn't really, and if it really came to that, if it really came to fighting, then he could have removed it. As far as arm protection, the two sets of armor are quite similar. Please keep in mind, though, that there is a bit more plate on the Tosei Gusoku style, the black armor, on the arms. The other one tends to have a bit more mail, at least these two versions on the Iron Mountain Armory site. Now the last big difference would be the Shin Guards, the greaves, okay, the tsuneate, because they are two completely different style. The classic style armor, the Tosei Gusoku, has got full plate greaves, so they do give better protection, but the other one has got this sort of splint armor, and I gotta say, I really like both. The plate ones would be more, now that doesn't mean that only this combination happened back in the day, okay? You could perfectly switch and it wouldn't be a problem, okay? So that is something you do need to keep in mind. In fact, the sort of full solid plate greaves that I have on my Tosei Gusoku, they are more for cavalry. If it was an infantry samurai, it wouldn't use those. So again, keeping that in mind, I'm just talking about what these sets come with. Of course, I'm sure you can ask for customization if you really wanted another style, but something different. But out of the two, not much difference in terms of weight. They're both very, very light. You don't really feel them. So again, up to personal preference. Moving around was absolutely fine with both sets of armor. They're both viable. They're both very, very good. And to be honest, it really now I own both, and I gotta say I can't really make my mind on which one I prefer. It really depends on what I'm supposed to do, to be honest, because the daimyo set armor makes you look like one of those samurai of films, and it's the most typical kind of samurai that you imagine that it would be that. So even in video games, for example, Nioh, where most of the armor you see there is this one, okay? So that sort of big pauldrons, it looks really good, it looks majestic. But on the other hand, I gotta say that the Tosei Gusoku also looks really good. I like the combination with the Tanegashima Teppo. It gives it a very specific historical placement. I really like the fact that it's full black. Of course, for Takeda would have been more correct to have it full red, but that, samurai still had some if you were a very important and wealthy samurai, you could still ask for specific modifications to the armor, and you had a little bit more freedom. And the reason why I really like the classic one, which is my first samurai armor, is because it's compact, it's lightweight, I can move in it very easily. If you're more into the traditional kind of samurai and you like that sort of big impressive pauldrons and helmet, then you should definitely go for a daimyo set, although it's a bit more expensive. But on the other hand, if you like compact, if you want to be lightweight, and if you want the armor to be lightweight, if you want to be 100% effective in combat, even if you're on foot, then I think the choice for you would be the classic style armor. Takeda is a very good one, but of course you've got other clans as well. One last thing about the daimyo armor, if we look at historical sources, then most of the times the sort of lacing would have been, the lacing used in this armor would have been silk. At Iron Mountain Armory, I believe they use cotton all the time. I don't know if they can customize it for you with silk. Maybe they can if you ask them to, but most of the times it will be cotton. And I think it's a very good choice, because having all the lacing made of silk would increase the price range of at least $1,000. So I think it's still, with cotton, it looks fantastic, the colors are bright, it's absolutely fine. And please keep in mind, not all samurai back in the day would have a high budget. Not all samurai would have been wealthy, so I think it's still absolutely viable. Historically speaking, you can go to any reenactment you want, it's not going to be an issue at all.
Alright, noble one, thank you very much for watching. Here I am with my friend Christian from Mr. Cree channel.
Hello everyone.
So he came here today to give me a hand making this video, but he's got his own YouTube channel and he mostly talks about fitness, I believe, and martial arts as well. So check him out, link in the description below. Most of his videos are in Italian, but we do have, do you have videos in English? Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe in the future, because as you can see he can't speak English, he's just a little shy. But most of the videos are in Italian. If you want to practice your Italian or you are Italian, please check him out. He's got a lot of good content, and I believe that in the future he will also make a few videos in English. So thank you very much for coming, Christian.
Oh, thank you too.
Alright then, so see you later.
Okay, noble ones, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Saraba!